The rain hadn't started yet, but the sky threatened it. Junho Park's knees hit the wet grass with a force that would have broken a weaker man. His hands, the same hands that had signed death warrants without trembling, now shook violently as they pressed against the cold marble. The gravestone was new, too new, the earth around it still fresh, still dark with moisture. "Elena," he whispered, and the name cracked in his throat like glass. His forehead dropped against the stone, right below her photograph. In the picture, she smiled, that smile that used to light up their penthouse, that used to make him forget the blood on his hands. Now it mocked him from behind glass and granite. "I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry." His voice broke completely. Tears carved hot paths down his face, dripping onto his $1,000 suit. The suit Elena had picked out for him 3 months ago, before everything fell apart, before the explosion, before he lost everything that mattered. What Junho didn't know, what he couldn't possibly know, was that 50 feet away, hidden partially behind the massive oak tree, Elena Park stood very much alive. Her chest rose and fell with careful, controlled breaths. The denim jacket she wore was nothing like the designer clothes that used to fill her closet. Her hair, now shoulder length and darker, moved slightly in the wind. She watched her husband fall apart, and her jaw clenched so tight it hurt. 3 months. It had been 3 months since she'd staged her own death. 3 months since she'd walked away from Junho Park and everything that came with being his wife. The power, the danger, the lies. And now, watching him crumble at a grave that held nothing but weighted sandbags and her old clothes, something twisted painfully in her chest. She hadn't expected this. She'd expected anger, maybe, investigation, perhaps even relief that the liability of a civilian wife was gone. But not this raw, destroyed version of the man who controlled half the city's underground with an iron fist. "I should have protected you better." Junho's voice carried across the cemetery, thick with grief. "I should have seen it coming. I should have—" His hands fisted in the grass, ripping chunks of it from the earth. "It should have been me in that car, not you, never you." Elena's breath hitched. She took 1 step back, deeper into the shadow of the tree. This was harder than she'd anticipated. She'd come here to see if he'd even bother to visit, to confirm what she'd always suspected, that she'd been nothing more than a pretty accessory to Junho Park's empire, a symbol of the normalcy he could never truly have. She'd been so sure he wouldn't care, but the man kneeling in the dirt, shoulders shaking with sobs, didn't look like someone who didn't care. He looked destroyed, hollowed out, like someone who'd lost the only thing that mattered. "Mr. Park," a voice cut through the cemetery quiet. A man in a dark suit approached, keeping a respectful distance, one of Junho's men. "Sir, we need to go. The meeting with the Kwan family's in an hour." Junho didn't move, didn't acknowledge the interruption. "Sir, they're getting impatient if we don't show." "Tell them to wait." Junho's voice was flat, dead. "Tell them I don't care." The bodyguard shifted uncomfortably. "Sir, with respect, they won't wait. They'll see it as weakness. The other families are already circling. Since Mrs. Park's death, they think you're vulnerable. They think—" "I said I don't care." Junho's roar echoed across the headstones. He spun on the man, and even from a distance, Elena could see the rage blazing in his eyes. But underneath it, something else. Something that looked like pain so deep it had no bottom. "Let them circle. Let them come. What does any of it matter now?" The bodyguard bowed quickly and retreated. Junho turned back to the grave. His anger collapsed as quickly as it had flared, leaving only exhaustion. He reached out, fingers tracing the engraved letters of her name. Elena Park, beloved wife. "I used to think I was protecting you, keeping you separate from the business, keeping you clean, safe." A bitter laugh escaped him. "But I was just lying to myself, wasn't I? There's no safe when you're married to me. I brought death to your door and I called it love."
Elena's hand came up to cover her mouth. She recognized that tone. She'd heard it only once before, years ago, when Junho had told her about his brother. about watching him die because of choices Junho had made. I'm going to find them, Junho continued, his voice hardening. Whoever did this, whoever planted that bomb, I'm going to find every single person involved, and I'm going to make them beg for the mercy of death. His hand pressed flat against the gravestone. And then I'm out. I'm done. This empire, this life, all of it means nothing without you. Behind the tree, Elena closed her eyes. The plan had been simple. Fake her death, disappear, start over somewhere Junho's world couldn't touch her. She'd been suffocating in that life, drowning in fear every time he left the house, wondering if he'd come back. The threats, the attempts on his life that came too close to hitting her instead, the constant presence of armed guards, the whispered conversations that stopped when she entered a room. She'd wanted out, needed out, but she'd never imagined this, never imagined Junho would choose her over his empire, never imagined he'd break like this. I love you, Junho's whisper was almost lost in the wind. I know I didn't say it enough. I know I thought providing for you, protecting you, was the same as showing you, but I love you. I loved you from the moment you spilled coffee on me in that bookstore. Do you remember? You were so angry at yourself, apologizing so much, and all I could think was that I'd never seen anyone more beautiful. Elena remembered. Of course she remembered. It was before she knew who he was, before she understood what loving Junho Park would cost. A fat raindrop hit her cheek, mixing with tears she hadn't realized she'd shed. Junho stood slowly, stiffly, like a man twice his age. He pulled something from his pocket. Even from a distance, Elena could see what it was. Her wedding ring. He'd kept it. The ring they'd recovered from the car wreckage, twisted and blackened by fire. He placed it gently at the base of the headstone. I'll see you again, he said. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I'll see you again, and I'll tell you everything I should have said when I had the chance. He stood there for another long moment, then turned and walked away. His steps were heavy, measured, the walk of a man going through motions because stopping would mean collapse. Elena watched him go, watched until his car pulled away, until the cemetery was silent again, except for the increasing rain. Then she stepped out from behind the tree. Her feet carried her forward before her mind could catch up. She stood there, front and center, in front of her own grave, staring at her own epitaph. What had she done? If you're watching this and you're already hooked by Junho's pain and Elena's impossible choice, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. This story is just getting started, and trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Drop a comment and tell me, should Elena reveal herself or keep hiding? Let's see what you think. She stood there as the rain began to fall in earnest, drops pattering against the marble, against her face, against the photograph that no longer looked quite like her. The woman in that picture had been softer, more trusting. The woman standing here now had spent 3 months learning to survive on her own, learning to be invisible, learning to live with the choice she'd made. Elena had been so certain, so sure that Junho's love was just another form of possession, that she was a trophy, a weakness his enemies could exploit, a pretty thing he kept in a gilded cage. The bomb that destroyed her car had only confirmed what she'd already known. Being Mrs. Park was a death sentence. It was just a matter of time. So she'd taken control of the when and how. She'd planned it meticulously. The car bomb was real, meant for her by the Kwan family, according to her source. But she'd known it was coming, had emptied the car, filled it with enough of her belongings to make the wreckage convincing, and walked away while Junho's world exploded behind her. She'd been free. Or so she told herself every night in the tiny apartment she now called home. Every morning when she woke up alone, every time she saw his face on the news, looking more hollow, more dangerous, more lost. "Damn it, Junho," she whispered to the empty cemetery. "You weren't supposed to care this much." Her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, read the message from the only person who knew she was alive. "Did you see him? Are you satisfied now, or are you finally ready to admit you made a mistake?" Maya, her best friend since college, the only one Elena had trusted with the truth. Elena's fingers hovered over the keyboard. What could she say? That she'd watched her husband break down and felt her own carefully constructed walls crumble? That 3 months of freedom suddenly felt like 3 months of running from the only thing that had ever been real? She typed back, "I don't know what I am anymore." The response came quickly. "Then figure it out, because you're not the only one suffering here. I've been watching him on the news. He's going scorched earth, Elena. He's dismantling everything, the legitimate businesses, the underground operations, all of it. He's keeping his word. He's getting out." Elena's hand tightened on the phone. She'd seen the headlines. Park Enterprises was liquidating assets at an alarming rate. Junho's right-hand man had taken over most of the day-to-day operations of the syndicate. There were rumors he was preparing to hand over power entirely. Another message. "He's destroying himself trying to find your killers. He's making enemies of people who used to be neutral. He doesn't care anymore. He's not protecting himself. Do you understand what I'm saying? The man you loved is on a suicide mission, and he doesn't even know it's for a ghost." Elena closed her eyes. When she opened them, she was looking at Junho's car through the rain. It hadn't left. It was parked just outside the cemetery gates, and she could see his silhouette in the back seat, unmoving. He was still here, still couldn't leave her. Her feet started moving before she could stop them, toward the gates, toward him, toward a decision she wasn't sure she was ready for. But then another car pulled up, black, expensive, wrong. Elena ducked behind a mausoleum, instincts honed by 3 months of hiding taking over. She watched as 3 men got out. They moved with purpose, with violence barely restrained. She recognized the tattoos on the driver's neck. Kwan family. Her blood went cold. They approached Junho's car from different angles, professional, coordinated. Her hand went to her jacket's pocket, fingers closing around the small canister of pepper spray that was her only weapon, useless against 3 armed men, but it was all she had. One of them tapped on Junho's window. Through the rain, Elena saw Junho's door open, saw him step out, seemingly unconcerned by the ambush. His bodyguard moved to intervene, but Junho waved him back. "Mr. Kwan sends his regards," the tattooed man said, loud enough for Elena to hear. "He wanted you to know that he considers your wife's death unfortunate collateral damage, but necessary." Elena's breath stopped. Junho went very still. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, too quiet. "Say that again." "The bomb was meant to send a message. We didn't expect her to be alone in the car, but Mr. Kwan says—" He didn't get to finish. Junho moved faster than Elena had ever seen him move. One moment he was standing there, the next his hand was around the man's throat, slamming him back against the car with enough force to dent the metal. "You killed her." Junho's voice was barely human. "You killed her." The other 2 men reached for their weapons, but Junho's bodyguard was faster. 2 shots rang out, precise and controlled. Both men went down, hands clutching leg wounds, guns skittering across wet pavement. Junho didn't even glance at them. His entire focus was on the man choking in his grip. "Where is Kwan?" The question came out in a tone that promised terrible things. The man tried to speak, couldn't. Junho loosened his grip fractionally. The warehouse, Eastern District, but you'll never—" "I don't need your permission." Junho threw him to the ground. "Tell Kwan I'm coming. Tell him to say his prayers. Tell him that Junho Park is coming and hell is coming with me." He turned to his bodyguard. "Get them out of here. Make sure they can walk well enough to deliver my message. Then gather everyone, all of them. We end this tonight." Elena pressed herself against the cold stone of the mausoleum, heart hammering. This was it. The moment Junho had been moving towards since she'd disappeared. The moment that would either end with Kwan dead or Junho dead or both. And it was all based on a lie. She stepped out from behind the mausoleum. "Junho!" Her voice cut through the rain, through the chaos, through everything. Junho froze. His bodyguard's hand went to his weapon. The wounded men on the ground looked up in confusion. But Junho just stood there, not moving, not breathing, like if he turned around and she wasn't real, it would kill him more surely than any bullet. "Junho," she said again, softer this time. "Turn around." He turned slowly, so slowly. And when his eyes met hers across the cemetery, across the rain, across 3 months of grief and lies and loss, Elena saw the exact moment his brain tried to process what his eyes were seeing. His face went through a dozen emotions in as many seconds: disbelief, hope, confusion, and then finally, understanding. "No, you're not. You can't be. I'm alive." The words felt too small for what they meant. "Junho, I'm alive. The bomb, the funeral, all of it. I'm alive." He took one step toward her, then another. Then he was moving, closing the distance between them with long strides that ate up the space until he was standing right in front of her, close enough to touch, but not touching, like he was afraid she'd disappear if he reached out. "How?" The word came out broken. "How was this? Why would you?" "I was scared," the confession tore out of her. "I was so scared, Junho. Every day wondering if you'd come home, wondering if the next bomb, the next bullet, the next war would take you from me, or take me because I was your weakness. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't live like that anymore. So you let me think you were dead." His voice went flat, cold. "You let me grieve. You let me plan to burn down the city for revenge. You stood there and watched me fall apart, and you said nothing."
"I didn't think you'd care." The words sounded stupid even as she said them. "I thought I was just another possession to you, another thing you owned. I thought you'd move on and I could finally be free." Free? He repeated the word like it was foreign. "You wanted to be free of me?" "I wanted to be free of this." She gestured around them, at the guns, at the wounded men, at the violence that always, always found them. This life, this constant fear. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't be the weakness that got you killed. So instead, you killed me yourself." His laugh was bitter, harsh. "Very efficient, Elena. Clean. I have to admire the precision." "Don't." Tears mixed with rain on her face. "Don't do that. Don't pretend this is all my fault. You brought this into our lives. Your choices, your empire, your enemies." "My love," he cut her off. "My love for you, which apparently meant nothing." "It meant everything." The words exploded out of her. "That's why I had to leave, because loving you was destroying me, and I couldn't watch it destroy you too. Every threat against me was a weapon they could use against you. Every time I got close to danger, it made you weaker. I was your vulnerability, Junho. I was the thing that would get you killed." "And you think I care?" His voice rose. "You think my life means anything without you in it?" "I was ready to give it all up, Elena. All of it. The power, the money, the empire. I was walking away. For you. For a ghost. Because even dead, you mattered more to me than any of it." The silence that followed was deafening. If you're still here, watching Junho and Elena's world collide in the rain, then you understand this isn't just a story. It's a war between love and survival. Hit that like button if you're feeling this, and subscribe because what comes next will either break them or remake them. Comment below, Team Junho or Team Elena? Who was right? I want to hear from you. Elena stared at him, at the man she'd loved enough to leave, and saw the truth written in every line of his face. He meant it, every word. The empire that had taken years to build, the power that men killed for, the reputation that made hardened criminals step aside, he would have traded it all for her. And she'd thrown it away because she'd been too afraid to believe it. "I'm sorry." The words felt inadequate, pathetic, but they were all she had. "Junho, I'm so sorry. I thought I was protecting both of us.
I thought, you thought wrong. He stepped back, putting distance between them, and Elena felt it like a physical wound. You made a choice. You chose to leave. You chose to let me suffer. You chose to stand there today and watch me break, and you were going to let me walk away. If those men hadn't shown up, if I hadn't been about to start a war over a lie, would you have said anything? She opened her mouth, closed it, because she didn't know. She honestly didn't know. That's what I thought. His smile was cold, empty. You wanted freedom, Elena. Congratulations, you have it. He turned away. Wait! Panic clawed at her throat. Junho, please, just wait. Let me explain. Explain what? He didn't turn around. Explain how you didn't trust me enough to tell me you were drowning? Explain how you thought faking your death was easier than talking to your husband? Explain how you let me plan murder for you, how you let me dismantle everything I've built, how you let me want to die because living without you was unbearable. Now he did turn, and the look in his eyes made her flinch. What explanation makes that okay, Elena? None. Her voice broke. None of them. You're right. I was a coward. I was selfish. I was so caught up in my own fear that I didn't stop to think about what it would do to you. I needed to survive, and I didn't know how to do that while loving you. Something flickered in his expression. Pain, maybe? Or understanding, but it was gone before she could be sure. Mr. Park? His bodyguard's voice was careful. We need to move. More could be coming. Junho nodded slowly. He looked at Elena one more time, and she saw him memorizing her face, like he was saying goodbye. Go back to your new life, he said quietly. Be free, be safe, be whatever you need to be, but don't come back. Don't reach out. Don't... His voice cracked, just slightly. Don't let me hope again. I can't survive it twice. Junho! Goodbye, Elena. He walked away, got in his car, and this time, she knew, he wouldn't be coming back to her grave. There was no point anymore. The woman he'd loved was dead, even if she was standing there breathing. Elena watched the taillights disappear into the rain, and something inside her shattered. This wasn't freedom. This was loss, real loss, the kind that didn't come from bombs or bullets, but from choices and consequences, and the unbridgeable gap between what she'd meant to do and what she'd actually done. Her phone buzzed again. Maya. I saw everything from my car. Are you okay? Elena looked at the message, looked at her grave, looked at the direction Junho had gone. Was she okay? No, but maybe she could be. She typed back. Where's the Kwan warehouse? Eastern District, he said. Where exactly? The response was immediate. No, Elena, no, don't even think about it. Where, Maya? You can't be serious. You're not trained for this. You're not... I caused this. Those men admitted to killing me, to planting that bomb. If Junho goes in there thinking he's avenging my death, thinking he has nothing left to lose, he's going to get himself killed, and it will be my fault. So where is it? A long pause. Then coordinates appeared on her screen, followed by, I'm coming with you. Don't you dare go alone. Elena was already running. The warehouse was exactly what she'd expected. Dark, isolated, the kind of place where screams wouldn't carry. She crouched behind a rusted shipping container, trying to catch her breath, trying to figure out what the hell she thought she was doing. Maya crouched beside her, looking equally terrified and determined. We should call the police. And tell them what? That the Park Syndicate is about to go to war with the Kwan family? They'd let them kill each other and call it efficient. Then what's the plan? Elena didn't have one. She had pepper spray, a dead phone, and the absolute certainty that if Junho died tonight because of her lies, she wouldn't survive it. I'm going to stop this. How? I have no idea. The sound of engines cut off any further discussion. Multiple vehicles. Junho wasn't coming alone. He'd brought an army. Elena watched from her hiding spot as Junho's men took positions around the warehouse. Professional, military-grade tactics. Whatever Junho had been in his past before he'd built his empire, it had taught him how to wage war. Junho himself stood at the center of it all, perfectly calm, perfectly ready to die. Last chance, he called out. His voice echoed across the empty lot. Send out Kwan and the rest of you walk away. This doesn't have to be a massacre. The warehouse doors opened. Men poured out. Too many. Junho was outnumbered 3-1 at least. He didn't seem to care. Junho Park, a man's voice, older, confident. You come into my territory and make demands. You've lost your mind along with your wife. Elena saw Junho's jaw tighten, saw his hand drift toward his weapon. This was it, the moment everything ended. She stood up. Stop! Her voice cut through the tension like a knife. Every head turned, every weapon shifted. Everybody stop. She walked out from behind the container, hands raised, very aware that approximately 40 guns were now pointed in her general direction. Junho's face went white. Elena, get back! No. She kept walking, kept her eyes on him, only him. No more running, no more hiding, no more letting other people die for my choices. She turned to face the Kwan men, face the older man who could only be Kwan himself. You want to know why Junho Park is here. Her voice was steady, stronger than she felt. Because your men confessed to killing his wife. They bragged about it. They told him you ordered it, and now he's here for revenge. Kwan's expression flickered, confusion, then understanding, then cold anger as he turned to look at his own men. Idiots, he hissed. I told you the bomb was a warning, damage to property, not... He cut himself off, but the damage was done. You ordered the bomb, Park. His voice was dead calm, more terrifying than any rage. You just admitted it. A bomb for your car, Park, not hers. The intelligence was wrong. It was supposed to be empty, a message that we could reach you anywhere. Kwan's face was hard. Your wife's death was an accident, collateral damage, unfortunate but unintended. Unfortunate. Junho repeated the word like it was poison. My wife, my Elena, and you call it unfortunate. She's not dead, you fool. Kwan gestured at Elena. She's standing right there. So perhaps we can all put away the guns and discuss this like rational. No. Junho's weapon came up. You still gave the order. You still put the bomb. You still made me think she was dead. You still took 3 months of my life and filled them with grief and rage and... His hand shook, just slightly. No, there's no rational discussion here. There's only consequences. Junho, Elena's voice, soft, close. She'd moved while they were talking, and now she was standing between Junho and Kwan, between the guns and the violence, between her husband and his revenge. Junho, look at me. He did, against every tactical instinct, every strategic consideration. He looked at her. I'm alive, she said. I'm here, I'm real, and I'm asking you, begging you, don't do this. Don't throw everything away. Don't become the thing I was afraid of. They hurt you. They hurt both of us, but killing them won't undo it. It won't give us back those 3 months. It won't fix what I broke when I left. She took a breath. But walking away might. Choosing me over revenge might. Being the man who loved me enough to give up his empire, be that man, right now, please. The silence stretched. Junho's weapon didn't waver. His eyes didn't leave hers. Then slowly, he lowered the gun. You're right, he said quietly. Killing them would be easy. Walking away is harder. Forgiving you is harder. Learning to trust again is harder. He looked past her at Kwan. Consider this your only warning. Touch anything of mine again, and there won't be a conversation. There won't be mercy. There will only be ash where you used to stand. He turned to his men. We're leaving. Then he looked at Elena. Really looked at her. If you want freedom, I'll give it to you. Divorce papers, new identity, money enough to start over anywhere in the world, no strings, no conditions. Just go and be safe and be happy. His voice cracked. But if you want to try again, if you want to find a way to make this work, to trust me enough to tell me when you're drowning instead of disappearing, then come home. The door will be open. But Elena, I can't chase you anymore. I can't wonder. I can't hope and lose again. The next move is yours." He walked away, this time for real. Elena stood there, in the space between her old life and her new one, between freedom and love, between fear and hope. Maya appeared at her elbow. "What are you going to do?" Elena watched Junho's car pull away. She thought about the tiny apartment that had felt like a prison of her own making. She thought about 3 months of pretending to be dead while feeling more dead inside than she'd ever felt in Junho's world. She thought about the look on his face when he'd knelt at her grave. She thought about love, real love, the kind that didn't run when things got hard, the kind that stayed and fought and chose each other even when it would be easier not to. "I'm going home," she said. And for the first time in 3 months, she meant it. So, there you have it, Junho and Elena's story, a tale of love, loss, lies, and second chances. If this grabbed you, if you felt every moment of their pain and hope, then do me a solid. Smash that subscribe button so you never miss stories like this. Drop a comment and tell me what you think happens next. Do they make it? Does love really conquer all? And hit that like button if you believe in second chances, because sometimes the hardest thing isn't dying for someone, it's learning to live for them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.